All right, Flo Latoile, I believe you have a very, very interesting interview for us. All right, take it over.
Right, thank you very much, Rich. And of course, today, the Department of Agriculture and Forestry Fisheries are hosting an awards ceremony to highlight excellence and exceptional achievement of young graduates, entrepreneurs and producers in the agriculture, forestry and fisheries sector. So, of course, today we've been talking a lot about the issue of land and getting back the land and that contentious issue. But we thought let's round it off on actually a positive. And joining me in studio this morning is Thembinkosi Mdaka, who is actually a young poultry farmer, to tell us more about not only the awards, but really the challenges and sort of the opportunities there that those in small-scale farming have. Good morning to you, and thank you so very much for joining us on Afro Breakfast.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, as a start, I mean, we talk a lot about, issues, challenges regarding the issue of land and land expropriation, all of that. And the first thing I thought when I was asked, I'm going to be talking to a young farmer, I thought, where are you getting this land? And where are the challenges and the opportunities that are there in the farming sector for you as a young black farmer?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I mean, in terms of, farming in general, it's a very capital-intensive sort of business, and also more so the land is also an issue. I mean, land issue is a topical issue in the country, but fortunately, poultry farming, unlike your cattle farming or crops. Poultry farming, you don't need as much a piece of land as such. I mean, on 4 hectares, you can run a commercial operation. So fortunately from that, we were able to sort of get access to land in terms, because we're not really needing that much space. And then secondly, but the biggest challenge is funding. It's capital intensive. If you had to start from scratch to start a poultry enterprise from your own pockets, you will have to, if you're fortunate enough to be working, you need to at least save 50% of your salary, depending on how much you are earning anyway. But funding is a big challenge. Also, access to market, to the formal market is also an issue. But I believe that there's a big enough market in the informal space.
You talk about the issue of funding, and I suppose that's where then my next question goes. We see that the government, and in particular the Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries Department, is hosting these particular awards, and we'll talk about them later, but are they giving you the support that is required? Is government really giving you the support that is needed, and are you engaging with government in terms of those challenges that you speak of and the issues of funding? Shouldn't that be where the department sort of gets itself involved? Yes, it's great to have these awards that you'll tell us about, but isn't that the main issue in terms of where you are at the moment? As you say, funding is the biggest issue.
Absolutely. I mean, when you run a poultry business, you will always be allocated an extension officer from the department. So that extension officer will come every now and then to check your project, how it's going. So they know exactly what are your challenges. They know what are your needs. They know what you need to do to go forward. I suppose perhaps if the government has, they have a lot on their plate to sort of try and assist. And you do, every year you get given an application to sort of do a needs analysis. What do you need? You send it through. Some other guys are successful, some other guys are not successful. So I think that is something that the government could focus more on. Because I know around me, there's a lot of guys similar to me, same age, they're doing just as well as I'm doing. And with just a little bit of support, infrastructure support, it would actually go a long way. I mean, with these awards, for us, we see them more of as a profiling, as a recognition. It's also a boost to see at least the government, they can see what we are actually doing. Yes. And we hope that it will bring, monetary benefit going forward.
And you talk about these young guys that are just like you getting into. How did you get into farming? I look at you, I do not see a farmer. How did it all start for you? And I mean, can you encourage other young guys to sort of get into that? I mean, we're struggling already with the youth. Will tell you one of the biggest issues is the job market. And when you've got people like you going into farming, I'm sure there's so many gaps and opportunities and for the young people who are at the moment talking about struggling with unemployment. How can you encourage them to get into it, and really, how did you get into it?
I get this question most of the time. I mean, I'm from Soweto, so there was never a farm around Soweto. But I think for me, if everyone can just challenge themselves to be present, just look at what's around them. I mean, if in Soweto on a weekend, you'd see people going to buy live chickens from the taxi rank and all over the place, and people buying eggs and so on. So, I mean, firstly, poultry is one of the least expensive source of protein in the country. And I mean, black people, we consume poultry. So for me, it was like, here's the market. I mean, every weekend, you know, my grand would used to ask and say, Goku. Funny enough, I used to be scared of live chickens. But
the irony.
Yes, but as I grew up, I realized there's a market. You know, someone is producing this chicken somewhere, someone is producing these eggs somewhere, and we are consuming it. And then then from there on, I started exploring. And luckily enough, from Soweto, there's an area called Thembinkosi. It's a small holding where the average size of the plots are like 2 to 3 hectares.
Yes.
And then I looked around, drove around, and funny enough, most of the plots were vacant. And then approached one of the ladies there to say, can I please lease a piece of your land to do my operation? And that's how I started. And they were you know, kind enough to allow me to do it. And then after 2 years down the line, luckily, I also realized that there's a relative of mine that had land in the area. And from there on, we signed a long-term lease, 20-year lease. That's the other point. And you don't have to own the land to run a poultry, to run any agriculture business. So long as you have access to land and you have a long-term lease, you can run your operation.
Is big business coming to the table? I mean, obviously you've got these chickens, but who's are they buying from you, and are they buying in numbers? Is that another challenge on its own, another battle on its own? I mean, who are your customers really?
You know, ironically, we do have customers, like big retailers that want to support, us. I mean, so there's a lot of franchised-owned retailers. They want to support us, but our production is so small that if we had to supply them, we would only focus on them. You'd have concentration risk on supplying one customer. So we did try it. We had ample opportunities to have our eggs on the shelf of one of the retailers, but we had to stop them because they were just our only customers. And then for now, we're just supplying to the general public. I mean, our typical customers are the guys that run their bakeries, guys that buy the eggs and on-sell it as well. And a small portion of the general public that come and buy a tray, especially because of eggs are so expensive these days on the shelf. We go to the formal retailers.
All right, thank you so very much, Thembinkosi, and I wish you all the best. I'm pretty sure you'll get some kind of award or recognition. You're doing great work, and well done to you. And we hope to see what you get from those awards. And I hope that we'll be able to be there ourselves. Thembinkosi is a poultry farmer. Thanks for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, so that's our conversation then. And I hope we can start to support small-scale farmers and what they're trying to do in this sector. Richard, back to you.